Hello, and welcome back to To Death, the podcast where we talk about criminal couples.
How's it going? Kevin here.
Ashley here. Sorry, I always forget to introduce myself.
What do you got in store for us this time?
Terrible.
I heard it's awful.
So I've been avoiding this case a little bit because every time if you go just search criminal couples, they're the first thing that comes up. And I've been avoiding them because every time I start reading about it, I get really depressed. And it is no different now.
Okay.
I've been reading about them for 4 or 5 days, and
So this is more depressing.
I would argue that it's all 4 cases, our first ones,
Uh-huh.
rolled up into one. It's more depressing than
Really?
all of them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That sounds great.
So just giving just throwing it out there. If you are sensitive to sexual assault and sodomy
Oh,
of
God. What is
minor
happening?
children,
What is this case?
just head out.
What are we doing?
This is the Ken and Barbie Killers.
Oh my God, I thought they just murdered Ken and Barbies.
No. They call them that because they look like Ken and Barbie.
Oh.
They are very, what back in the 80s would be considered attractive people, and
So
they look
weighed
super normal.
40 pounds combined?
Yeah, pretty much, with blonde hair and
Of
blue
course,
eyes.
of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they looked great, but on the inside they were ugly as shit.
Okay, all right.
So if you are sensitive to any of that stuff, this may be not the episode for you, and you can skip past it. But if you...
Can I skip?
Can you skip? No, you can't. You volunteered to do this with me, so you
Right.
have to stay around. So this is the case of Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka.
All right, let's say those names a little slower for me.
Paul Bernardo
Paul Bernardo.
and Carla Homolka.
Carla Homolka.
Homolka.
Okay.
They were based out of Canada, so we're heading over to Canada for this crime.
Really? These are Canadian?
These are Canadians.
This is Canadian.
This
huh?
is Canada.
So this goes against the whole neighbor-friendly,
Yes, they were not.
how you doing,
Yeah.
No?
They give Canada a bad name.
Ooh.
Let's just say that. They're
Were they close to America, though?
Toronto.
So, yeah, kind of.
I don't know my geography very
I
well.
think so. I know Windsor's really close. That's the one I'm familiar with. We used to go there, because in Windsor, in Canada, you could drink at 19. Yeah. So we would sneak across the bridge. We would legally cross the Ambassador Bridge from Michigan to Canada and drink legally at the age of 19.
I was in the Texas Panhandle where I was just surrounded by dirt, so there was no crossing any borders there.
Well, there's a big border, I think, right? Oh, no, you're not by...
No, we were really far from there.
From the Mexican
From Mexico,
border.
yeah.
You're on the opposite side.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like I said, we were surrounded by dirt.
Okay, that's fine. We were surrounded by water. Fresh water. Well, except that one. That was really dirty.
Yeah, we won't talk about that
We
one.
won't talk about that
That's for another podcast.
Anyways.
So yeah, there are some other...
They're Canadian.
They're Canadian. You'll see them most as the Ken and Barbie Killers. Paul Bernardo on his own was coined the Scarborough Rapist.
Okay.
And they also have been known as the Schoolgirl Murders. So,
Okay.
yay. Awesome. I'm super... I never want to think about this case once we're done talking about it. So
Great.
let's just jump into this.
Okay.
So Paul Bernardo, he was born in August of 1964 in Toronto, Ontario. He was born to a really wealthy family. Mm-hmm. Wealthy but dysfunctional family. His mom, she had been adopted by a very well-to-do Toronto lawyer.
Okay.
And she had her issues. His father was the son of an Italian immigrant. They came together. His dad was really, really abusive, as was his father.
These are the Bernardos, right?
Yes, the Bernardos.
All right.
So I'm trying to get an idea of why he was the way he was, because that's why I like true crime, is because I like to analyze it and figure out, why are these people the way they are?
Right. Or
What
at least
makes someone do this?
Might be factors, because other people have been in abusive situations and they don't become
No, absolutely.
serial killers.
Absolutely. That's very true.
So,
But his dad was really abusive to his mother. His mom, so he had 2 older siblings, a sister and a brother, and then he was the 3rd child. Well, come to find out, he was raised his whole life thinking his dad, Kenneth, was his dad. Okay. At the age of 18, his mom drops a bomb on him, tells him, hey, I actually had an affair, and you are the product of an affair.
just like Dennis and Dee Reynolds.
Yes.
Somebody's got to get stabbed.
Somebody's got to get stabbed. His dad did stick around. Like, his dad was like, I don't care that you're not mine. Like,
Oh, he did. So he didn't know either.
His dad didn't know.
Okay.
His dad never knew until his mom came out.
It was
and
just
said
like that episode then. Wow.
Yeah.
Of Always Sunny, by the way.
Yes. So, his mom became really depressed around this time, around like when she dropped the bomb on him that he was actually a product of a extramarital affair. So
But he was one of three kids.
Yes,
right?
the older 2 was his dad's biological children.
Okay.
He was the only one that was a product of this affair.
I see.
So his mom, in all the stuff I've read, basically his mom like retreated down to the basement and stayed there. She never came out of the basement. She basically they called her the basement troll, is what his dad and himself called her.
Okay.
Like, she was very depressed. His dad would go down and sexually assault her whenever he wanted to and come back up.
Jesus Christ.
That's it. Paul would degrade her, which is, I think, where he probably got his disdain for women from, is just the way he saw his dad treating his mom.
Sure.
So that was a terrible
But this
situation.
like retreat to the basement was like of her own.
Yeah,
Of her own doing.
She went into like a deep depression.
Interesting.
And well, also her husband was really abusive.
Yeah,
so
it sounded like that may have...
She just kind of withdrew from everything and went into a depression instead
Interesting.
of leaving or anything.
Right.
That's how she dealt with it. Which, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yikes.
So he was always like, everyone described him as like this perfect kid. Like, he was very easy. He was very well mannered. He was polite. He was really good at school. Like, he was the all around, like, I would say all American boy, but he was Canadian. All Canadian boy.
So he wasn't playing football. He was playing hockey.
Maybe. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So he was just this perfect kid who got these perfect grades. Everyone knew he was going to go on to do great things, So, Bernardo graduated, and before he went to college, he went to work for Amway.
Sorry, that's our dog.
Oh my gosh, always
He
the squeakies.
wants to play.
So he decided to work at Amway. Do you know what Amway is?
That's the trains, right?
No,
Or I'm thinking of something else.
it's the MLM.
Oh, that's right. I think of Amtrak.
Right. So it's like this huge MLM that's like literally protected by the U.S. government because a bunch of big government people work in Amway.
Right.
So yeah, he decides to work at this MLM, which he was apparently really good at because he was a good salesman.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that he was like in an MLM. That was funny. So.
We have a puppy guest. His name is Data. He's a husky.
He is, and he wants to be involved in all of this.
He doesn't do the husky thing. He doesn't do the howling or any of the singing, but he does squeaky his toy a lot.
He loves to squeaky his toy, and I just put it on the desk, so he's probably, can you not buy my feet? It hurts.
He's a little chompy.
He's very chompy. So Bernardo ended up attending the University of Toronto Scarborough, and around this time is where he kind of developed his dark sexual fantasies, in which he loved to humiliate women in public. That is how he got off, was doing that. So perfect. So then we have Karla Homolka. She was the eldest daughter. She had 2 other sisters, Lori and Tammy, and she lived in St. Catharines, Ontario. Never heard of it, but
Okay.
she, her family was pretty normal. Nothing going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
She worked at a pet shop while she was in high school. When she graduated high school.
A pet shop of horrors?
No, a regular pet shop.
Okay.
It's kind of funny when I was I was watching something on this, and she was actually a vet tech like me.
Oh, okay.
In my younger years. So she worked at an animal clinic where she actually stole drugs to help commit their crimes. So she sucks.
Wait, I'm sorry. She was still working there when they were doing the okay.
Yeah.
And she would steal I'm assuming knockout drugs or that
knockout
kind of
drugs.
Okay.
Anesthetics and stuff like that.
Okay.
So Carla and Paul met in Scarborough in October of 1987, where they were both attending a convention. She was 17, he was 23. So he actually proposed to her that same year. The age of consent in Ontario was 18.
Okay.
So, oh wait, no, the age of consent in Canada was 14. Yeesh.
I mean, it's kind of country.
Really, Canada?
Oh, Canada. Oh, yeah.
Ah.
It's I think it's the opposite of America. Like, the more north you get, the more country it gets.
Oh,
where,
God.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, listen, I'm not saying that that's okay, but just an explanation of why it might be that age.
Mm-hmm. Ish.
Yeah. Where is Toronto? I know where Windsor's at because I've been there quite a few times. Toronto. They're the Maple Leafs.
I'm not really sure either. I'm so bad with geography.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, so yeah.
Alright.
It's not actually that much farther than Windsor, actually.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty close to,
Yeah. It's
pretty close to New York.
right, it's like
Vermont,
it's like
yeah.
New York's part of Canada, where Windsor was our part of Canada, and Detroit.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's fun.
Yes. So let's talk about their crimes. So I'm going to start with Paul because he actually started committing his crimes before he ever met Carla.
Okay. And so when did they meet? How old were they again?
So she was 17 and he was 23. They
All right.
met in October of 1987.
Gotcha.
So, Paul, good God. I've been avoiding talking about this.
Uh-huh.
So like I said, he was really into humiliating and beating up women. He loved control, and he decided that he only wanted to sleep with virgins. That was his thing. That's... It's gross.
Yeah.
So, May 4th, 1987 was his first sexual assault.
Was this like a religious thing? Or
No.
Not really, no?
Not really.
Okay.
Just a personal thing.
Okay.
That's what he decided.
Okay.
That virgins were the only thing that were good enough for him.
The only reason I asked is, it just says on your note sheet, the Scarborough rapist. I thought it said the Scarborough Baptist.
Oh, no. He was coined the Scarborough rapist.
Right. I remember you saying that, but sorry. Anyway.
Not the Scarborough Baptist. That
Yeah.
would be even weirder.
Well, yeah. Anyways.
So he sexually assaulted a 21-year-old woman in front of her parents' house because he followed her home.
Okay.
Second assault, May 14th, 1987. He attacked a 19-year-old woman in her backyard.
Okay. So this started in 87.
Yes.
All right.
July 1987.
Uh-huh.
He had his third sexual assault where he beat a young woman and abandoned her after she fought back. So
Okay.
she actually fought him off.
Fighting works.
Yes.
Right?
I guess it
Am I
does.
getting, I don't want to. I don't
No,
want
no.
to tell people wrong things. I would fight. I don't think my likelihood of being sexually assaulted is high, but if that were to happen, I'm pretty sure that would be my instinct.
That's what Paul Hull says. Paul Hull says you're supposed to fight because people want a submissive victim.
Right, that we're just compliant. Yeah, because you don't want to cause a fuss, right?
You don't. You
Right.
don't want people to notice. You want everything to be
Just
very...
go the way you envisioned.
Yes.
So fighting would be contrary to your attacker's plan.
Exactly. I'm sorry. This got all out of order. Because there's just so much in this case. Like, all my papers are... gotta keep these in order. Okay, December 16th.
That would suck. What would you even do? That's awful.
All these are really awful. Like, so I'm just going to quickly kind of go through these because there's a lot of them, and I don't want to spend too much time on them.
Yeah.
because it's just a lot. We would be here for like 4 hours.
Yeah, this is a huge list. So all right, go ahead. I'll just go.
I'm just
go through it.
Shot fired December 16th, 1987. He sexually assaulted a 15-year-old girl. December 23rd, 1987. He raped a 17-year-old girl at knife point. And at this point is where he was being referred to as a Scarborough rapist, was after his first sexual assault. April 18th, 1988, he attacked a 17-year-old girl. May 25th, 1988, he was nearly caught by a officer right at this date. So if he would have been caught here, good God.
This is May 25th?
1988.
He was almost caught.
He was almost caught by a Metro Toronto investigator.
No crime committed, but...
No crime committed, but he was almost caught because he was stalking someone at a bus shelter.
He was working on it.
He was working on it, but then this police officer was like right on his trail, and I don't know that he even knew that he was like
But he just
there.
was around, then he spooked him.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Gotcha.
May 30th, 1988, he committed his sixth sexual assault against an 18-year-old girl. So if you can see, these are all young girls.
Yeah. And this is all like in the same like area.
Same area, Scarborough, the Scarborough area of Canada. I guess it's like a county, basically.
Around,
like
near Toronto.
Yes. It's all in this area.
It's like a suburb, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's like you know how we have counties?
Yeah.
I think that's how it is. There.
The dog. The dog.
Sorry, he's like biting my feet. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep it together. So October 4th, 1988, he tried to sexually assault a teenage girl, but she fought him off. And he stabbed her twice, but she ended up living.
Good for her.
I know.
Jeez Louise.
November 6th, 1988, he sexually assaulted an 18-year-old girl in the backyard of her parents' house. So if you notice, he's doing this in like their yards.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So weird. November 16th, 1988. November 17th. So literally the next day.
Do they not have neighbors?
I have no idea.
That seems to be a theme that we've at least I've noticed in these podcasts. Is like, why are neighbors so like not seeing what's happening?
Unless maybe he was doing it in the middle of the day.
I'm sorry to laugh. The dog is literally eating Ashley's feet.
Yeah, sorry, and it really hurts.
He's got sharp teeth. He's a big old doggy.
So, November 17th, 1988, the police developed a task force to try to catch him. Okay? December 27th, 1988, an alerted neighbor chased him off after he attempted to do his 8th rape.
There we go. There's the neighbor.
There's the neighbor. They chased him off.
Step your neighbor game up.
So this was December 27th, 1988. He did not sexually assault anyone until June 20th of 1989 after that. So he must have got spooked.
He took his time. Or at least anybody that was found, right? I don't know.
That's true. These are reported, so who knows? There could have been some that were non-reported.
Yeah.
So June 20th, 1989, he attempted to sexually assault another girl, but she fought against him too and alerted her neighbors, and he fled.
Good. And
so
way to go, neighbors, again.
Yeah,
all right, good.
He's starting to...
Redemption arc for neighbors.
So August 15th, 1989, he committed his 8th sexual assault of a 22-year-old woman. He had been stalking her for a few days before it. November 21st, 1989, Bernardo committed his 9th rape against a 15-year-old girl. December 22nd, 1989, he committed his 10th sexual assault against a 19-year-old girl. And then May 26th, 1990, so we're going to 1990 already, he did his 11th sexual assault of a 19-year-old victim.
This is all in just like a span of 2 or 3 years.
Yes, it was exhausting. That's why I'm like, let me just kind of go through these because it's like a lot. So this is his time being the Scarborough rapist. So between May and September of 1990, the police had submitted more than 130 suspect samples for DNA testing. So they were like trying to catch him through DNA, which is amazing. Like in their 1990.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome that they were trying to do that. So
Well, that's what got OJ, right? And that was like in the early 90s, wasn't it? That's what got OJ. That's what put him in a hot seat for a minute there during his trial. Nothing got OJ.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did they have DNA?
Yeah, they did. They started doing DNA. Remember, I only know this because we watched that movie with
That made
Ross.
for TV movie, yes.
From
with
Friends.
Sarah Paulson.
Yeah. And Ross from Friends.
And Cuba Gooding Jr.
That's right. It was really,
OJ.
really good. It was a good
Yeah, it was
little
really
thing.
good.
But they mentioned like, oh, we got this new DNA stuff coming around that we're gonna use this and they're gonna get you. And they're like, DNA. That sounds like some science nerd stuff. No one's gonna care about that. Turns out they were right. Nobody
Yeah.
cared about the science nerd stuff. And OJ walked.
Good gosh.
Well, the glove fit or didn't fit.
If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Right. I even know about that case. I think everyone knows about that one.
I think so.
Yeah. How could you not?
So
We should do that. No, that's not a.
It's not a couples.
We'll get there once we
We'll
run out.
we'll get there
once we run
they-
out of couples. We'll do OJ.
We'll go to OJ. Good God, that case. Whew.
It involved couples, like a few couples, right?
And not to mention, he's like just out
Out
there
there,
living his life.
And then he wrote, "What if I or like if I had done it or whatever."
Yeah, like he basically told the story of how he did it.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh, the audacity.
Preposterous.
The audacity.
So I can't help but look at like the preposterous absurdity of this in lab. Some of these in lab. This case is gross.
This case is terrible.
So I'm trying to talk about other cases.
I know. So basically, in 1990,
I only know one though.
a couple of people that were really close to Paul came to the police to
How
tell
can
them.
so this guy had like regular friends,
Regular
like
friends.
bar
He was in
friends,
the university.
and chumming it up with guys. And
He was totally normal.
so he was like in his early 20s at this point, like
Yeah.
a frat age kind of almost.
Yes. And
Wow.
like some of his friends started suspecting that he was involved as being the Scarborough rapist. Like there were just certain things that they saw that kind of were like didn't sit well with them. So one of his friends, he had these friends that were like all brothers. They were called the Smirens brothers.
Okay.
One of his friends' wives actually called the police and said like, "Hey, you need to."
The Smirin brothers?
The Smiren brothers.
Okay, and so he had a group of friends, and they were just like
Three brothers.
That's interesting.
And they were his closest friends. Well, his wife, Tina, called the cops and was like, "Hey, you need to look into this guy. He frequently talks about, like, his sex life and, like, how he loves to, like, dominate and, like, humiliate women."
And he's saying this
attack
stuff
women.
like in public.
In public, like, at a bar,
I see.
basically. And
Okay.
so she called and, like, tipped off the police. So they...
Smart.
Exactly. And, like, they had already gotten a couple of tips from just other people thinking that he could be.
Yeah.
So they called him in. November 20th, 1990. The cops call him in to interview him.
Can they do? That's interesting.
They can't
that they
make
can do
you
that.
come
But
in.
he voluntarily.
He voluntarily
okay.
came.
All right.
They couldn't have made him come, but he voluntarily came for an interview.
Gotcha.
They interviewed him for 35 minutes. Talked to him. He did resemble the composite sketch that one of the victims had given.
Mm-hmm.
So
Remember that one case where there was like that ridiculous looking like cartoony like composite sketch that was basically a caricature and it worked. Like I'll have to show it to you. I'm surprised you don't know what I'm referring to.
I'm
being
trying
a true
to
crime.
it like
Somebody
it
got
sparked
caught,
something in my brain.
and it was like the most hilarious drawing, but it actually worked enough to get.
So you know what I was thinking when you said that? So I don't know if you like heard much about the Madeline McCann case. It was that little girl who went missing, like in a different country. Someone drew her assailant, and it looks like an egg with a face on it. We call it Eggman. And it was like the most ridiculous composite sketch ever.
I would like to do that. One of these, we should just do a funny ha-ha show of like ridiculous like sketch, like police sketches of people.
Oh, that would be funny.
We should do that
Oh
one
my
time.
god. Yeah, we'll do that for like maybe like one day we'll like make a Patreon or something and do like some silly episodes
That'd
on
be
Patreon.
fun. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. So he comes in, he's getting interviewed, and the police were like, wow, he's like very well educated, well adjusted, he's congenial.
We love this guy.
This guy's no way this guy is the rapist.
I'm going to ask him to be in my wedding.
Exactly. He was like way credible. He told them he would give them everything. He gave them his DNA. He did everything they wanted. Yeah, he did.
Okay.
So, like, the audacity of these people, like.
I'm just sorry. I'm going to avoid the childish joke. Just continue, please.
Like, so they let him go.
Right.
They're like, no way, this guy this guy's great. It can be. And I don't know, can you put the pictures up on here? Like, so.
Of these people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. Just for those of us who are
just so the people know.
Viewing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's check these people out. Oh, yeah, they are definitely that.
I mean, but they're like normal looking
college people.
Yeah, like
let's have a beer, bruh.
Exactly.
They say bruh. A lot. This guy says bruh. And he's,
I mean, do Canadians say bruh?
Well, no, but if he was like around now, he would say bruh and
yeah.
then say sorry about it.
Hey.
And then...
That's Carla.
Mm-hmm. Very clearly both hammered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, that's a hammered eye.
That's
right
a
there.
hammered eye. I think there's a beer like right in front of her face.
I mean, of course, right. I mean, obviously, not exactly Sherlock Holmes in here, but yeah.
So, I mean, they're super normal looking people.
They're both squinting their right eye.
I know, they are. Maybe the light was bright?
I don't know.
I know,
now
kill you.
Acne.
Are you like giving the picture acne?
Yeah. Sorry. So there's another one there. Oh, they looks really different there.
So these were the pictures when they got caught. This was when they were on trial for their crimes.
I see.
So they were both like kind of over it.
I see. All right. Let's get this.
Oh my gosh. If you're like listening to this on a like podcast streaming service, he's drawing devil horns on the picture of Paul Bernardo, which is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Very appropriate.
And then big, messed up, bad teeth. Oh, there we go. There's that guy.
Oh
I was gonna give him an eye patch, but
that's too cool.
Eye patches are too cool for this guy.
Yeah, that's too cool. So let's keep going. So February 1st, 1991, he moves to St. Catharines permanently. So the Scarborough sexual assaults completely stop.
No. Sorry. I'm done playing. This is their wedding picture.
Yeah, that's their wedding picture.
That actually looks way more like the bruh picture than this one. This one looks messed up before I even corrected it.
Yeah, that's like I said, they had been caught, so they were not so happy.
All right.
So he moves to St. Catharines. The Scarborough sexual assaults, they completely stop. But on April 6, 1991, he commits his 12th sexual assault. It was a young victim that was 14.
Good God.
So, yikes.
Yikes.
So, okay. Now we're moving on because we always escalate, right? These rapists always seem to escalate their crimes. They never settle on sexual assault. They usually end up moving to murder. So that's how, like, the Golden State Killer, original Night Stalker, whatever you want to call him, he was first...
So just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but all those cases you just listed, none of them were murdered.
No, they were all just sexual assaults. They
were
all left alive.
Not to belittle, but I just want to make it clear that they weren't killed yet.
They were not killed. They were all left alive. So up until this point, he had not murdered anybody. Okay. So, but that is all going to change, and Miss Carla Homolka is going to start playing a bigger role in this now.
Right. Excuse me. She's been completely uninvolved.
So she was not involved in his sexual assaults as the Scarborough rapist.
Okay.
No. So their relationship was, and I'm going to kind of talk off the cuff about this because I have watched just through the stuff I read. Basically, their relationship was very strange. When she was into his roughness of like humiliating her and like being rough with her.
She liked that kind of stuff.
She liked it. And he actually was really mean to her about the fact that she was not a virgin when he met her.
Okay.
He berated her about it. And so instead of being like, dude, this guy's a dick, I'm going to go find someone else, right? Which is what a normal person would do. Just walk away from this relationship because, like, dude.
She fully embraced the awfulness.
She not only embraced it, she decided that her present to him would be to provide him virgins.
Oh, good God.
To have sex with. So.
It just feels like some version of, like, Stockholm. Like, where you know what I mean? Like, you feel like you have to appease this, like, authority of some kind.
I feel like you'll find out in a little bit.
You, like, enjoy being the lesser of.
She was she was into all of this.
Right.
And it wasn't Stockholm Syndrome because she wasn't a victim that was being held captive. She could have left. She was voluntarily there.
Not Stockholm Syndrome, but something like that.
I don't know. She had some
when you were just really about
self-esteem issues.
being subservient.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I'm sure a psychiatrist could kind of
Well, I think that stuff's interesting.
Maybe Frasier could break that down for us. Why do some women
Frasier would blame it all on mom and dad and be done with it. Which in this case seems to be, well, no, not for her.
Her parents were very normal. Her family was very normal. His parents were the one that was kind of
Some people are just messed
crazy.
up.
Yeah,
some people are just jerks.
People are really messed up.
I don't know. Sometimes maybe there might be some kind of like micro tumor in there that's doing things you don't even know it's doing.
That's true. That was the case with the guy in Austin, Texas,
Oh, for real?
who like the shot up.
The tower guy.
Bell tower. He had a tumor.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
That's not the DC sniper. That's
No, totally different.
That's totally different.
Yeah. So let's move on.
I don't know about the famous ones. I know about what was that, Kent University?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was terrible.
The Neil Young one. That sounds so weird. The one he wrote a song about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible.
In Ohio. Yeah.
Eesh.
Yeesh. We listened to that on going to Austin, I think.
My Favorite Murder.
On that show.
They did My Favorite Murder does. If you haven't listened to My Favorite Murder, please go listen to them. They're
I've
freaking
listened
fantastic.
to them twice. I think both on the way to Austin.
But you also went to the live show with me.
You did bring me to that.
Yeah.
They were not on time.
They were not on time, but you know what? That's okay.
It wasn't their fault. I don't think it was their fault.
I don't think it was their fault either.
Houston traffic was crazy.
Yeah. They were amazing though, and I loved them.
It was fun.
So
much. I enjoyed it.
Me too.
I enjoyed it.
They were amazing.
I was disappointed by what they referred to as a charcuterie box or whatever, and it was that little thing of crackers and cheese. I was like, that wasn't their fault.
No, that was the venue.
That wasn't My Favorite Murders at all. It was just a venue. I was just remember being,
Yeah. Was that there? Or was that at Hamilton?
No, they had one too, but at Hamilton, I was expecting it.
Oh, okay.
Like I knew what I was getting myself into at that point in time. I already knew it was going to be the little crappy box of cheese and crackers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At the first time, I expected a little bit more.
Right.
You know, like
nah, not at those concerts.
I don't know why I thought. Well, it was my first murder concert. I thought maybe they did it a little more classy there.
They do whatever the venue's doing. So.
Right. I didn't know. Lesson learned. Anyway.
So let's move on to these murders. So the first murder that Carla and Paul carried out was... So I had talked to you earlier about Carla working at a pet shop. So she befriended this girl who was 15, and we're only referring to this girl as Jane Doe.
Okay.
That's how she's always referred to in everything.
That's just how she wanted it, or like her family wanted it?
I'm assuming that's how her family wanted her referred to.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, I get that.
So she was a 15-year-old girl. She befriended Carla on June 7th, 1991. Carla invited her over to hang out with her and Paul. Yeah.
So they're working together at the pet store.
Yes.
Or wait, yeah, no, pets. She said she's a vet tech though. Do they have vet techs that work at the pet store?
No, she was at the pet store at this point.
Okay, so she moved. She went on to
eventually
become
be a vet tech. So at this point, though, she's working still at the pet shop. So she invites this girl to a girls' night out, basically coming over.
Yeah,
they're gonna hang out shopping. They went out to dinner.
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, I mean, but without the chill part. I mean.
Yeah. Or the Netflix because it was the 90s.
Right. So she brings her back to her house.
Blockbuster and chill.
Yeah. So she ends up.
Does that always mean sex? When they say Netflix and chill, is that always what's implied?
That's what it's implied, yeah.
See, I'm so naive and innocent. When I first heard that term, I legitimately thought people were just talking about hanging out with each other.
No, it's usually an implication.
I learned that as I went on, moved on, and I was like, "Is it always have that type of implication?" Apparently, okay, yes.
Yeah, it does.
Why can't we just chill?
I mean, you can.
Watch some Game of Thrones. That's not on Netflix, though.
No, not on Netflix.
We can HBO Max and chill. Anyways, all right, terrible stuff.
Yeah, so sorry, it's just such a long case that I'm trying to trudge through it, or we're gonna be here for a million hours.
Well, I don't have anywhere to be. Do you?
We have dinner reservations.
Oh shit! All right, moving on.
So Jane Doe comes over to their house. Carla laces her alcohol with this drug called Halcyon, which is like an anesthetic, basically, that knocks people like.
Halcyon. That's a hell of a name for a drug.
Yeah, it has to have another name because I haven't ever heard of it.
You know what that Halcyon is, right? Like when people refer to like their Halcyon days, it's like the best days of your life back in.
Oh no, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's a word that it has a meaning. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
So it's just an interesting name for like a drug, like this is like a pet drug or an animal.
Yeah,
specific?
she got it from there.
Wow.
That's how she was getting these.
The doctor's
drugs.
like, the dogs are gonna feel good on this.
So she brings her home. Jane Doe loses consciousness, right?
Okay.
So the reason Carla had brought her home was for a wedding gift because she was a virgin.
Good God.
So she brought it for Paul. Paul ended up sexual assaulting and sodomizing the girl. She woke up vomiting and thought she didn't realize she had been sexually assaulted. She thought she just got really drunk and passed out because she had never drank before.
Okay.
So she has no idea what had happened to her. Wakes up, no idea. So she was invited back to the house in August of that year.
Oh, so she survived that event and like went on.
Went on. Didn't realize what happened to her. Just thought she got really wasted. So she comes back to their house and they sexually assault her again.
This is like months later?
Mm-hmm. So she came to spend the night. Basically, the second time they sexually assaulted her, she stopped breathing because she was drugged so much. So Carla calls 911, but a few minutes later, she's like, never mind, everything's fine, because they get her to come back. They revive her, and she's fine. And then a third time, she comes back to the house. A third time. She still doesn't realize what's going on, this girl.
Okay.
She just thinks she's hanging out and getting wasted with these people.
Yeah.
The second time, Homolka pressured her to have sex with Paul, and she became upset and left. So she actually didn't get murdered, but she got sexually assaulted a few times.
Okay.
And this is kind of where it all set off for them. So, first murder. 1990, Paul was spending a lot of time with Carla's family. They were all kind of intermingled. They really liked him. Like, you know, it was just like a regular family, right?
Yeah.
Except that he was a terrible rapist, but, you know.
Uh-huh.
He became obsessed with her sister, Tammy. She was younger than Carla, and she was very obsessed with her because she was a virgin too. Carla realized that Paul had become really obsessed with her, and instead of being like, gross, that's my sister, stay away from her.
Considering the treatment of what we saw, like the near-death experience
of Jane Doe, yeah.
So this person has no longer or have had any concern for their sister.
No.
Jesus Christ.
So Carla laced Tammy's spaghetti sauce with crushed Valium. And it's our producer, the cat.
Oh, sorry, are we running over? Mm-hmm. All right, sorry.
So get it together, guys.
All right, sorry.
So she laced her sister's spaghetti with Valium, which made her sister lose consciousness. So she brought her sister down to a basement, and Bernardo began to sexually assault Tammy as Carla watched.
What the? How old are these people at this point? I mean, just
Tammy,
to get a.
Tammy was a teenager.
Okay, Jesus. So this was her.
She was 15 years old.
What?
Yeah.
Is happening?
Yeah, I told you it's terrible. I told you I didn't want to do this case for a reason. It's ridiculous.
It just doesn't sound real. It's hard to process.
I know. So on December 23rd, 1990, Paul and Carla administered sleeping pills to Tammy again in her eggnog at a Christmas party. After she was unconscious, they drug her down to the basement, and Paul began to sexually assault her. And what's even worse about all this, which they videotaped all of this. So this was all played at their trial.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this was all videotaped. So Carla cannot say that she was not involved because it's all on video.
Good. So people had to watch that.
Yes. Can you imagine having to watch that?
Oh, so gross.
Once they were down in the basement, goodness. They started sexually assaulting her, and she actually ended up dying because she choked on her own vomit. So the pair tried to revive her. They called 911. They tried to hide the evidence. They dressed her back in clothes. But they, a little after taking her to the hospital, she was pronounced dead. They actually ended up doing an autopsy on her because she was so young. Like, Carla's parents wanted an autopsy because they were like, what the heck? What happened? Like,
yeah.
and they ended up concluding that it was accidental. She choked on her vomit after the consumption of alcohol. So her parents believed that she just got really drunk and choked on her own vomit. That's how she died. Little did they know it was because she was drugged.
They didn't notice the sexual assault or anything like that?
I guess they were not checking for it.
Yeah.
It's a good question. They didn't know. So that was their first murder, was Carla's sister, Tammy.
So, but if they would have choked, they would have maintained the blood alcohol. They could have tested how drunk they were, right? Like, isn't that how that works?
They should have tested that, and you would think they would have found Valium in her system.
Right, like do a tox screen, right?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they did I don't know.
These cases just sound like people just being really bad at their jobs, like sometimes.
And making assumptions.
Listen, I'm not a detective or a forensics analyst or whatever, but like, guys, try harder. Jesus Christ.
I know. Because, I mean, if they would have, like, been able to identify that this is what happened to her.
Like, if you don't want to be doing that job and it's boring for you and you just want to go home, do something else and let somebody who actually, like, has a passion for, like, figuring things out take that space.
Unless maybe I'm thinking, like, they did test her and she did have a high alcohol blood content because she maybe had drank a little bit too much, and they did find Valium in her system and thought maybe, well, she was just a teenager, she was taking Valium and alcohol. Right? And then they were just like, well, she, did too much of it and she died.
I guess so. It's frustrating to me.
It's really frustrating because you're right. It's really frustrating, believe me.
I don't know. I hate to be blaming, listen, forensic people. I'm sorry to come at y'all like that. I'm sure a lot of you are very good at your jobs, but I feel like some of this is just the result of sloppy work.
It is. And I think, like, just naturally we want to, like, find somebody to blame, right? Because
correct.
There needs to be someone to blame.
There's got to be somebody. It's got to be somebody's fault.
And I think that's just a natural thing.
That's
to do.
true. Yeah.
So.
Looking for the answer in a pool of chaos.
Yeah. So
Yikes.
That was their first murder. Second murder was a girl named Leslie McAfee.
Okay.
So in June 15th, 1991. So
the first murder, the Barbie's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus
Carla's
Christ.
sister, Tammy. So June 15th, 1991, Paul took a little detour through Burlington, which I'm assuming is Vermont, because it's pretty close to Toronto. So it's halfway between Toronto and St. Catharines. He was there to steal license plates.
Bernardo was?
Yeah, he was stealing license plates. I'm assuming because he probably wanted to steal cars at a later time and put, like, these different license plates on these cars. I don't know exactly
this
what
guy
he was
who
doing.
could have just gotten a regular job and, like...
He did have a regular job.
But he's just doing this because he's...
I don't know, because he's... I don't know why he was doing this shit. So he ended up meeting this 14-year-old girl in this neighborhood where he was trying to steal license plates. She had missed her curfew and her parents had locked her out of her house because she missed her curfew. So they're like, you didn't come on in time. Don't come home at all. Bye.
Yeah, don't do that, parents.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Just send them to their room.
Yes.
Take away their iPad.
And don't let them go out again.
Don't let them go out again. So she's just, like, wandering around. She catches Paul, like, stealing these license plates, but it's like she's not fazed by it, he says. And she actually, like, asks him if he has a cigarette. Bernardo was like, hey, yeah, come on, like, come to my car. He blindfolds her, forced her into her car, and drove her to him and Carla's house. And comes in, tells Carla, hey, we have a playmate. They keep her locked and chained in their basement for several days, torturing her, sexually abusing her, sodomizing her, all while listening to Bob Marley and Dave Bowie.
I don't even know what to say to that.
So the last day of Leslie's life, Carla gave her a lethal dose of that drug, Halcyon, that anesthetic.
Uh-huh.
And there's differing accounts of actually how Leslie died. Paul says that that it was Carla giving her that lethal dose of that medication. Carla says Paul strangled her. So, I guess it's whoever you want to believe in that
He said,
case.
she said.
He said, she said.
Right.
So they're like, well, shit, now we got to hide this body.
Okay.
So the pair put the body in the basement. They decided the best way to dispose of her body would be to dismember her and then encase her body in cement. And then slowly dump the blocks of cement into Lake Gibson.
Okay.
So they just slowly start dumping her body, which was encased in cement, into this lake.
Right.
One of the blocks weighed 200 pounds. And
Yeah.
they were transporting it to this lake.
Yeah, cement's heavy.
So that one big block that they had that weighed 200 pounds, it didn't end up sinking where they wanted it to and was later found offshore.
Okay.
They discovered, some fishers discovered her body in June 29th, 1991.
I was about to say, I hate to comment, but it sounds like a good idea. How the hell did people find this? If you have big blocks of cement.
I guess this big block actually didn't end up sinking, or like maybe the water retreated a little bit.
Yeah, but why would anybody suspect there would be a body inside?
So they actually didn't know there was a body inside. They found a huge block of cement that looked strange to them, so they turned it in.
So they're just like, what's this big old piece of cement doing here?
So they called the cops and said, like, hey, this is kind of weird. Like,
so there are people out there checking out the waters, and if they see something weird, they're gonna.
And they found it, and they were able to like chip apart the cement and found her some of her bodily remains, which was obviously her head, because they were able to identify her using her orthodontic appliance.
Oh my god!
I know. Yeesh. So then we move on to their third murder, Kristen French. On the afternoon of April 16th, 1992, Carla and Paul were driving through St. Catharines, and they were looking for potential victims. They were scouting. It was just after school, right before Good Friday, and they were next to a Catholic high school. They spotted Kristen French, a 15-year-old student, walking home. The couple pulled up, and Carla got out and was like, hey, I need help finding our way. Can you give us directions? This, like, pretty blonde girl, I'm sure this 15-year-old was just like, okay, why not? I'm going to give you directions.
Sure.
It wasn't scary.
Right.
So once they did that, Paul attacked her from behind, put a knife to her neck, and forced her into the car. Over the next 3 days, Carla and Paul videotaped themselves torturing, sexually assaulting, and sodomizing her, forcing her to drink large amounts of alcohol and forcing her to behave really submissively to Paul. I can't believe they taped all this. Ugh. It's just... Ugh.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a lot of feedback for that one.
I know. So, while Bernardo was out buying pizza on April 18th, he was spotted by a girl he actually was stalking a previous month ago. And she basically went and told they call it the NRP. I can't remember, like, that. I guess that's what the police are called in Canada.
Okay. I thought they were Mounties.
I wonder what NRP stands for.
I'm joking. I know that not all police in Canada are Mounties. That would be cool, though. All on horseback.
So this girl sees him.
Okay.
And she tries to turn him in. Like, she's like, hey, this guy's stalking me. Like, he's out, and this is where he is.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything about it, the cops.
Okay.
This is all while Kristen French is still in their basement, tied up alive. Okay. So this could have been intervened on.
Right.
If they would have followed up.
Right.
So the couple ended up murdering French before going to Carla's house, family's house, for Easter dinner.
Oh, of course.
That was nice of them,
right?
So,
would you like to come to my parents' house for dinner? No, I'll murder you.
I know. Paul said Carla beat Kristen French with a rubber mallet because she tried to escape.
God.
And that Kristen ended up being strangled with a noose tied around her neck and secured to a chest. French's body was found in a ditch on April 30th, 1992 in Burlington.
They got a little lazy with their disposal.
They did. And it was so weird because Carla, after she murdered Kristen French, she ended up washing her hair, washing her body, cutting her hair to try to make her look different.
Like the victim or herself?
No, the victim. She did this to the victim.
Okay.
Because she thought that
that would be enough to throw off the cops.
Yeah, she was trying to like impede the identification of the victim.
A little obfuscation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
So it's so freaking weird.
Yeah, I suspect. Hopefully, that wouldn't have been that effective.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was their third murder. So they're going on about their ridiculous ways when, in summer of 1992, Paul starts abusing Carla.
Ah. Okay, of course. Inevitable.
It's inevitable, right? He starts physically abusing her. Basically, she tries to go home, back to her house and like tell her parents, and she ends up telling her sister Lori's husband, who was a Toronto cop, that Paul was abusing her. And so this is where it all starts going down. She goes to cop. She starts telling about her abuse, and then it finally ends up coming out. She ends up confessing to their murderous ways.
Aha.
The Toronto detectives initially interviewed Carla for 5 hours, and she ends up telling them all about Paul and him being the Scarborough rapist. She, like, at first tries to, like, paint herself as a victim.
Of course.
Of course.
That happened in, I think, every single one of these.
It's happened in every single one,
yeah.
Yes.
Except, not Bonnie Clyde.
No, you're right.
Not Bonnie and Clyde.
Not Bonnie and Clyde, but every other one, yeah. So she's like, this and this, like, he was the Scarborough rapist. I was scared of him. Like, I went along with it. So.
Of course.
So Carly got herself a really good attorney.
Okay.
So.
Johnny Cochran?
No. So it's this guy named
Some really good attorneys in the early 90s.
Yeah, there were. So she got this lawyer named George Walker, and it's kind of weird how he got her. While she was a veterinary technician, she actually took care of his cancer-stricken Dalmatian, and that's why he represented her, because she took such good care of his dog.
Best key to a man's heart is his dog.
Over a period of many interviews, George Walker realized that Carla was not a victim, and that she was really much more involved than she said she was.
Sure.
So he wasn't really sure that he could negotiate on her behalf, so he actually recused himself. He decided not to represent her.
Gotcha.
Because he was like, this was not how I thought it was going to be.
Right. I am now fully aware of your guilt and can no longer represent you.
Yeah. So in mid-February, Paul was arrested in conjunction with the Scarborough rapes and the murders of McGaffey and French. So not quite the murder of Tammy yet. Mm-hmm. So on February 19th, police...
Tammy, her sister.
Yeah, he wasn't arrested for Tammy.
Okay.
Her sister yet. On February 19th, the police executed like a search warrant on Carla and Paul's house and found tons of evidence.
Sure.
Like just a treasure trove of incident. Paul had written a description of every
there just don't be bodies in ditches. I don't think their house is going to be... Yeah.
And Paul had written descriptions of every one of his rapes and his extensive library. And they had also videotape.
I was going to say videotape collection. Yeah. Can't blame that on AI deepfakes back then.
They found a brief home video where they were pretty sure, where it was proved to them that Carla was way more involved than she said. Mm-hmm. So I told you that George Walker stepped down as her attorney, and she got a new attorney who ended up getting her a plea bargain. So that's
when she says, "I'm guilty, but I'll save you the time and give me a lesser sentence."
Yeah. So Mary Siegel, she was a plea bargain specialist for the Attorney General. Carla would basically, they gave her this plea bargain.
Yeah.
Carla would get 12 years in prison for each of the 2 victims, but the sentences would be served concurrently.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's weird that's even a thing, but okay.
Yeah. It is weird, right?
Yeah.
That you can serve some at the same time?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Let me split myself into 2 and I'll serve these parallel.
I always thought that was strange,
that is
too.
very weird.
So they said she would be eligible for parole in a little over 3 years for good behavior. Yeah. The government even agreed to contact the parole board on Carla's behalf, pointing out the importance of her testimony against Paul. Against Paul.
My sun and stars. Or whatever.
Her attorney,
Moon and stars.
Siegel, said that she would do what she could to arrange for Carla to serve out her sentence in a psychiatric hospital instead of a prison. So her trial would be very brief, and she waived her right to a preliminary hearing.
Okay.
In exchange for leniency, Carla agreed that she would tell the truth about her involvement in the crimes and everything she knew.
Right.
So.
Including her sister.
Yeah. So Carla's trial was on June 28th, 1993, and basically it was a media circus. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. Her psychiatrist reportedly helped set the stage for her plea bargain. The psychologist concluded that Carla knew what it was happening, but she felt totally helpless and unable to enact her own defense or in anyone else's defense, saying that she was paralyzed in fear. Okay. Which was totally false.
Right.
Because they have video of her.
Sure.
Like, I hate that these people use these excuses, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, try something. That's their job, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess so. They just do whatever they can. Carla left the trial after receiving the agreed-upon sentence and prepared herself for Paul's trial. Okay. So let's move on to Paul's trial. Ugh. The trial of Paul Bernardo was delayed 2 years after his arrest. So he was just in prison for 2 years. Okay. Well, I guess they were trying to form a good case against him.
He could have probably no bail option.
No. He was in prison. Right. One of the reasons it was delayed was Ken Murray, who was his attorney at the time, was in a really weird ethical situation because he was given the videotapes of them sexually assaulting their victims, and he actually decided that he was just going to hand it over to the prosecutors. Oh, okay. He was like, "No, I'm not keeping this to myself. I'm handing it over."
Don't they have to do that?
So they do in discovery,
If they don't, not an Alfred plea, it's a totally different thing. You said there's a law where the defense has to share evidence, right?
Yes, that's exculpatory though. Usually it's exculpatory evidence.
I don't know what that word means.
Meaning it can prove their innocence. It could be used to prove innocence for someone. But
not prove guilt.
I don't know. I'm not really sure how that works.
You mean you're not a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer, no.
Right.
I don't know exactly. So, the videotapes were turned over to the prosecutors, and he withdrew from the case. Okay. My take on it was that he just couldn't represent him anymore. Of course. It was too gross. Yeah. So, he got a veteran defense lawyer, John Rosen. So, that whole situation with the switching of the lawyers was really actually, it
how
delayed
much money
that
do you gotta pay somebody to take a case like that?
Good God, I know, but there's always a lawyer, and I mean everyone deserves equal representation. I understand that,
even in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think Canada's probably
they have courts.
Yes, I'm pretty sure they have courts.
I thought they just had a guy behind a curtain and munchkins and stuff.
The Canadians are always one step ahead of us, so I'm sure they were. So in 1995, Bernardo was convicted on all charges regarding the kidnapping, rapes, and murders of Leslie and Kristen. He also faced trials on the death of Tammy Homolka and several other rapes in Scarborough under Canadian law. So he got sentenced. Yeah. He can apply, Bernardo can apply for parole after 25 years in prison, although they said it's likely he'll ever be released.
Is he still alive in prison?
Mm-hmm. He's still alive in prison.
Nikes.
Oh, okay. So let's move on to Carla, because I thought this was freaking wild. Okay. So after a 2-day hearing in June of 2005, so we're moving to 2005,
all right? We're out of 87.
Yeah, we're in the early 90s, we're in 2005.
Right, well, 87 is when he started.
Where he started, yeah. So this judge in this
I've been taking
2-day
notes.
hearing, good. Take all the notes and then burn them because we never want to think about this again. He ruled that Homolka was released on July 4th. So this judge in a 2-day hearing, he ruled that Carla was going to be released on July 4th, 2005. So he said she still posed a little bit of a risk to the public, so he enacted these conditions on her release.
Okay.
The conditions were she was to tell the police her home address, work address, and home with who she lives. She was required to notify police as soon as any of the above changed.
Right.
She was likewise required to notify police of any change to her name. If she planned to be away from her home for more than 48 hours, she was to give 72 hours notice.
Okay.
She could not contact Paul Bernardo, the families of Lisa McGaffey or Kristen French, or the woman known as Jane Doe.
Right.
She was forbidden to be with people under the age of 16 and to consume drugs other than prescription medication.
Right.
She was required to continue therapy and counseling, and she was required to provide police with a DNA sample. So on July 4th, 2005, Carla was released from prison.
Okay.
She did not, for her crime, she basically served almost no time.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So she was granted an interview with a Royal Radio Canada television. And she kind of tried to tell her side of the story. She affirmed that she would be living in the within the Providence of where she was released, this St. Anne des Plaines Providence. I don't know how to.
Nope.
I'm totally butchering that. I'm sure it's French.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to say that.
It's French.
So she refused to speak about her alleged relationship. She didn't want to talk about it. So she retreated into her own life, being released from prison.
Okay. But where did she just went quietly into the night?
So I'll tell you all we know about her at
Okay.
this point. So on November 30th, 2005, Quebec Superior Judge lifted all restrictions imposed on Carla.
Okay.
So all those restrictions she was going to
Gone.
follow,
Same
gone,
year.
You're good.
Same year, gone.
They said that there wasn't enough as evidence to justify them.
Okay.
Those restrictions.
Other than videotape evidence of you being a monster.
Exactly. On June 8, 2006, Carla requested to have her name changed, which was rejected. In 2007, Homolka gave birth to a baby boy. Oh, which I didn't tell you. She married her lawyer's brother.
What the fuck? Okay.
So
That's why I can't process.
fun.
It sounds like a stupid movie. It sounds like
know.
a dumb movie on Lifetime Channel or
I
something.
know. So she married her her husband's.
Although the
Or her,
owl
lawyer's
one, that movie
brother.
was pretty good. I did like that.
Which one?
The miniseries with the owl lady.
Yeah. No, I can't remember the staircase.
Yeah, the staircase. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That was
pretty
that
good.
was really good. Yeah, they did some good acting in that.
I'm not into this stuff, but I see it in passing, and sometimes it'll look good, and I'll watch it. Like the one with Renee Zellweger.
Zellweger?
Wigger. Oh, that's a rough word.
Zellweger.
Is it? I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Yeah, that's how I think you pronounce it.
And Chappelle's show he said Renee Zellweger.
Oh, I don't think it's an itch. But
It's not an itch? Oh,
I don't
okay.
think so.
Well, she was also in that hilarious Jim Carrey movie.
The thing, oh yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wait.
the
Me,
true
Myself,
crime,
and Irene.
Right, the true crime one you're talking about with her, and it was the thing about Pam.
The thing about Pam. That was good.
That was really good.
That was actually funny, too.
It was. They did a funny little take on it.
I liked it. They put some...
Keith Morrison was involved in it. It was hilarious.
It was
They
good.
did a good job.
It made me... There was part when they did the reenactment, like the guy was disabled or whatever.
Yeah.
But they did like her perspective of the
Yeah.
so he's like some kind of like kung fu master.
Yes, it was hilarious.
It made me laugh. It was good. Anyway.
So she gave birth in 2007 to a little boy on December 14th, 2007. It was reported that Carla had left Canada for the Antilles. I don't know what this is.
Oh.
Antilles.
I don't know. Mountains or something?
I don't know.
idea.
So that her 1-year-old
I want to
could lead a
believe she
more
went
normal
off
life.
to go live in the mountains.
Maybe.
That's where she deserves. Alone in frozen mountains.
So she wanted to leave so she could get her 1-year-old out of the public eye, so that her 1-year-old could lead a normal life.
Should have thought about that. No, it is the opposite of frozen mountains.
Oh, it's a beach.
It's a tropical paradise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she went to go live in the tropics.
It's a group of islands, like some kind of archipelago or something like that, I'm assuming. I don't know.
On June 21st, 2012, a Canadian journalist revealed that Homolka had relocated to Guadalupe and changed her name to Leanne Bordalis.
Okay.
She's married to her lawyer's brother, Derry Bordalis, with whom she has 2 sons and 1 daughter. And that is all we know about her at this point. She changed her name in 2012 and is now just living her life.
That doesn't seem right.
It doesn't really. I know, that's like when I was like reading this case, I was like, how can this lady that participated in all this stuff already be out?
Yeah, I was about to say, where did she get the money for this? But then lawyer. Right. Wow.
So yeah, these people sucked.
And now she's living in a tropical paradise.
Now she's living in a tropical paradise with her husband and her 3 children.
After
with a changed name.
After providing 14, 15-year-old rape victims to her.
Then
and also being a participant in the acts as well. And beating people with
and killing
hammers,
her sister.
Murdering her sister. But now she's just partying it up in the Antilles, which is not a frozen tundra mountainscape, which I was hoping it was. It's a tropical island paradise.
She should be living in a cave.
So
she doesn't deserve all that sunlight.
Yeah. Whenever I hear people talk about karma, I'll remember about this little story.
God, I hope she gets some karma. Ugh.
No, I think this story just proved that karma is not a real thing.
I mean, maybe one day she'll get karma.
Maybe. What happened to the guy?
He's still in prison.
Oh, he's still in prison?
Yeah.
We don't know.
He ain't getting
all
out.
right. So he's not serving parallel asynchronous sentences?
No, like he gets up for, I think he comes up for parole like every like so often, but basically the Canadian justice system basically said he ain't ever getting out.
Gotcha.
They're never going to let him out. And why would you? These people seem like people who are not going to be rehabilitated, which is why it's crazy to me that she got out.
The story sucked.
Yeah, I'm glad we got it out of the way because I hate it. I hated researching it. I hated thinking about it. I was telling Kevin yesterday, I had been reading so much about it. I woke up and I was driving to work and actually drove my wrong route to work. Like a route that was going to take me longer, that I knew better, just because this was so in my head and I just like blanked out and started driving because I just was like withdrawn into my own mind about this. That's how bad it was. I don't want to ever think about it again.
Yeah, let's never do this again.
Because I really kind of shortened this down.
This should be our final episode.
No. Don't let them do that to us.
One final victim.
I never want to I just never want to think about this again because they're terrible.
It's awful. Ugh, it's just gross and disgusting. It makes me want to take a shower. Speaking of which, I kind of actually have to go do. Hey, how do you spell Canada? Canada. Get it?
No, I don't get it.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. This has been our 5th episode of To Death. Eh?
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, see